So what we need to do is we need to, if you check here, you can see that we are, in fact, instantiating our items, but when we go between maps, they persist. Not there, but most of the time they'll persist. I bet you they'll come back. Yeah. So why is that happening? Well, let's fix this. So if I look at my base map here, I have something in here called my, these are scriptable objects, and it's called an object system, and it's my base object called my base map. So when I'm creating this here, and you're making your blocking objects right here, right now you're saying that you're only making a couch or a bed. But when you make one, you want to make sure that your distance is, get a valid starting position here. Because here you wanted to check to see if a door or a tile is you're looking for a valid starting position here of something, and you're saying that if it doesn't have any tile map conflicts here, so when you get your map tile conflicts, you're actually iterating through the size of this thing. But you have something in here to determine distance, this. So this one, I could add in a bool is starting position. So then that means that, similarly down here, I could say if it is not a starting position, then you want to do this. Else, you want to evaluate right here. Okay, so now you want to get your new positions here minus your base grid object. Like that. Okay, so if in fact that your positions here are too great from the other objects, hold on. Well, that's not right. So if it is a starting position, what you want to do is you want to evaluate how close the nearest door is. If I look here, you should have something in here called a get grid position, get map tile here. This should be a public virtual, and we are getting my so right here you can get one which is your get map tile here, but you want to get a door tiles. So do you have that somewhere in here? Are you exposing tiles? So we'll say that this is an I collection here of my door tile, and we'll say that this is called my door tiles. Get door tiles. And now it's going to be return a map tiles dot of type. And this is going to be a type of map door tile dot to list. right there. Yep. Hey, Maxim6. I didn't catch last time. What was the name? It's a bloody keyboard. Model Light Strike. It's this one. Okay. So here, when you're getting your door tiles, this is going to be a get door tiles like that. And you're going to say for each var door tile in get door tiles like that. And now you can have your evaluation with that. Right, this one. So now if my new position, this one, minus this one squared, this is a map position like that. And then this one will be my grid object. That should do it. Otherwise, now you're going to add this here. And it's just this, like that. So let me say this out loud so it sounds right. So you're going to have a new position that you're calculating. So for each grid size of this object, so let's say it's a 4x2, then it's going to do 2x2. It's going to calculate a new position to iterate through. It's going to get that one tile, and then if it is a starting position, then what I want to do is I want to look at that new tile position, and I want to compare it to the map position of this door tile, and then also to compare to make sure that it is of the right size. And if it is, then we're going to add so only if this happens will this happen. So I think it wants to be that way. Because we only want this to run when it's like that. And now this one is the starting position. And now we'll see what errors we induce there. Keyboard said Thriven. Nice keyboard for soulless gingers. How's it going, Thriven? How you doing, buddy? It's good to see you. Welcome back. This one here is not a starting position, so this is going to be a false. Let's leave this up because there's too many errors in there. Same thing here. Two more. Okay, let's go ahead and rebuild it. And let's make sure that that made the adjustment that we wanted. So now we should see that it has a buffer when it's creating those two objects. Perfect. That's fine. I need one where the door is on top. There. So you can see that now it made sure that it's at least one spot away, because did I say that it has to be one spot away from other objects? So if let's say I said that this one was 3. So it's failing. So the reason is right here. This is easy fix. Gotta wait for it to refresh here. There it is. And let's give it a run. Same thing. Try it again. So my tile here is bottom, and then this one is top. My new position is 6, 7, and my door tile position is 4, 8. Hold on. So it should be here. We should add this new position here. Ah. Let's try that. I need one where it hits the top. I need one where the door is on top. But I'm feeling like it's probably gonna work correctly now. Come on. Okay, so it wasn't able to place this one on the top, and so it ended up saying that it had a vector that was nothing. That's okay. That means that it's working correctly. It's just not when we are running this loop for 50 times, when we're returning this thing. So here, if my blocking object position does not equal to vector 2.0, right there. And now when you're actually creating this new world object here, and you're initializing it, where are you setting the object name? It's already created here. You're creating your game object here. So it's already made. So you need to set your name. GameObject.name equals base object type dot toString. Let's try it again. I need one where it's on the top again. Okay, it was unhappy with me here because it tried to do this isWorldObject conflict here. Hold on. Okay, so here when you're doing and you're making this world object here, it should just stop. So I guess we could just do like a try and we'll just catch it here. And that should solve it. Just really dirty and simple. See, that one didn't take there, but this one should here. So it's interesting that it didn't work for both of them when it's one or the other. We'll just put this here. So it's still going to try 50 times here. And if it errors, it'll just keep looping until it fails. So let's try it again. Why was that failing? It was here. isWorldConflicts was failing because it didn't have a grid object associated with it. So right here, you could just say if my world object is not equal to null and my world object dot grid object is not equal to null and Let's try it again. And then what we're going to do is we're going to switch over. We're going to start putting our enemies in there. Now it's working. Put object in pool. So when I'm creating my world object in base map, right here, you were doing this, creating it, and then you're having this make map, which makes these blocking objects right here. And then what you're doing is you're looking for a position, and if it's not equal to null, then you're going to create this new blocking object. Oh, and then finally, it's right here. This is why it's failing. Where's your world object new? World object new does not equal to null. That's exactly why that failed. Else, return null. So that's up here where you're making this world object. We'll be returning that world object, and now that should solve it. So that way now it's not putting nulls into the collection. Love it. And let's check it one more time. Perfect. Okay, so that works. I'm happy there. No longer instantiating blocking objects if too close to door. And let's push that out. Okay, the next one that I wanted to do was start to bring in my enemies. So if I look back at my base map, you should have one more here called make enemies. So here you have a protected virtual void make enemies. And let's go ahead and add above this, or below it, another protected virtual integer get number enemies and map. Return random.range from 1 to, because it's exclusive, well, it's inclusive and exclusive, so 1 and 5. Now what you need to do is you have something in here called make world object, and you're passing in a blocking object type. So it's going to be a var enemy equals get database enemy. And it's going to be an enemy type dot, and we want to get frog for now. So down here, you want to get from your database enemies enemy type, and we'll say that this one is enemies, and we want to get it where it's a type of enemy. You see a survivor here, which is a type of base NPC, base enemy. It's of type base enemy. And I want to get it where my enemy type is equal to enemy type. And then we're going to add this base enemy here. to my base enemy, call this enemies. So up here, get database enemy E-N-E-M-Y. That just looks funny for me for some reason. Okay. And now what I want to do is I need to, for I goes to my get number enemies and map. And then here we're going to make world object of my enemy. And now if you look here, you should have another one called an enemy here. We can say that this one's a moving object. That's fine. Okay, so now we're gonna say my var enemy moving object position equals and now I feel like that should be on each one of these NPCs. You should have something on here called public virtual vector2 get valid starting location, and you're going to need to pass in here a base map. So we want to return a new vector2, and we're going to say it's going to be a random.range from my 1 to my 9, and then a random.range from my 1 to my 9. Because now here you can get your world object dot grid object of your type base NPC. So this should be an NPC. I guess it's a moving object. So let's move this to the moving object then. Even lower. So base moving object, and we want to say that we want to Hey Doratho, do you ever do coding challenges on your stream, like coding game or anything? No, I haven't yet, but maybe one day I will. If you have one that you're interested in, we could potentially do one. Let me see here. So this base moving object needs to have a, I just put it on there. It was the method that was get valid starting location. Like that. And you need to pass in your map, which is this. So now if my moving object position does not equal to vector2.0, then what you want to do is you want to var moving object equals create an instance of my moving object. Well, because it's not necessarily this base moving object, is it? Hold on. So maybe if we did something like a switch here on my moving object world object of base moving object dot get grid position grid object like that. And now I want to get this for my do you choose something like moving object type? Perfect. And so now if it's an enemy, now you can do a var enemy equals create instance of my enemy. I think we were calling it a base enemy type, but we don't know which type it was because we have to create it. So it needs to be a var enemy equals your world object dot grid object of your type enemy base enemy. And then you can switch on my enemy again, dot enemy type. Holy crap. And now I should be able to do like a frog is the one that we'll do to start. I don't even see one enemy that you've created in here. So let's create a new object folder here called enemies, and we'll call one here called a frog. Hey, Crunch, how you doing, man? It's been a bit. Welcome back. It's good to see you come back for this project. Excited to get this one done. This one is a type of base enemy, right? So we want to say using no turning back dot object system. Sorry. Like that, okay? It needs to inherit a couple of different classes in here. So if you looked here at your base NPC, at your base moving object, let's do this one here as a abstract. Okay, so here, get next movement location. Let me look at a survivor for this. I ran into Clunch on some random Discord server recently, says Thriven. Doing good. A week of vacation before work starts again. Doing some writing, painting, miniatures, and playing some Shadows of War. Hey, Thriven, says Clunch. I just got, Elite Dangerous, and it is stealing my life. You work in education, Clunch? How you been? I've been good, Clunch. I've been good. Just working. Ali Chat's almost live, which is nice. We're putting that up this week. So this one, my get next movement location. The first thing that I want to do is a vector3 call my target position. And my next thing will be a waypoint, which will be my current position equals my current waypoint. And then we'll have a waypoint new position equals current position. And then we'll have a fail-safe counter here. So while my current position dot position is equal to my new position dot position, so while they haven't changed, then what we want to do is we want to check to see if my fail-safe counter plus plus is greater than 25. We want to return my new position, which will just be the same one because it failed. Otherwise, while my waypoints dot any s where my position is equal to my target position using system.link s where my position is equal to my target position Now, I didn't get a target position, did I? So we need to declare one. This is going to be my here. This one needs to be a public virtual vector2 called get next position, and it needs to pass in a base map. Like there. And we'll make this an abstract again. So you need to make sure that you have this overridden here. Like that. And we're going to say that this one is going to be equal to return a map.get random position here. Like that. And then finally, after all of that, oh wait, your new position, because that's just getting a random position that is acceptable. So this is going to be a get a random position on the map. Evaluate if the target position is valid. Something like that, right? So it's called a get next move position calculated. And that's going to be for my target position, my current waypoint, and my map. Wow, this is really hard coded in here. We'll have to see how this works here. I'm starting to understand what Rob is typing. I am amazed. Are you doing a lot of programming these days? This one I need to return a new physician, right? And then I just want to check this because I feel like this isn't going to work right the way I want. Get valid starting location. So we could just move this up here for now. Which means that I could probably, in my base moving object here, we'll just comment these out for now. And now let's see where my errors are at. I didn't finish creating my instances here, so we'll just steal this for a moment. So we're going to create this instance of frog here, and then it's going to be frog.init, and we're going to pass in the init has a base enemy and a pool manager. So that's going to be a... Don't you have to get an object from the database or something like that? Oh, you're getting it from your world object dot world object dot grid object of type frog. And then that's going to be, the next one is the pool manager. Yeah. Then you're going to set this thing. You're going to set your transform. Item object, didn't you cast that as something up here? Hold on. Yeah, wait. Yeah. It's called a frog.portrait, okay? And this thing failed because your valid starting position should be world object of my grid object of type frog. I guess it's of type base moving object. I'm okay with that. And then at the end of all that, you need to make sure that your world object new here, that you're creating it. And now let's see what happens. I am working as a programmer, yes. But more visually than really coding. I just build application like Minecraft. I need one block after another. Oh, so you're using like a CMS? Or what kind of applications? Like desktop applications? There we go. Sorry, that was off. Let's see what happens. All right, gave me a null, just like I thought, because it's going to say that I never found this enemy. Okay, that's fine. So let's create one. We need to create a new scriptable object in here called enemies. And this first one will be called a frog. We'll create a new object here called a enemy. Ooh. Now let me take a look at this. This is called a world object enemy. Okay, I mean, that looks great. And your frog, you need to make sure that you have your asset menu here for this thing. Create asset menu, enemies, frog. So this is a frog world item down here. We're going to say that this is a enemy world object. Then you can bring that into your dictionary here. That should already bring that into your global manager, right? Yeah, it does. And so now your frog here, you can create a new object of type enemies right here. Okay, this one is called a frog. A base object type is a moving object. My grid size is 1111. It's active. We have a skin for it. So let's double check our enemies down here. You need to create some skins for this, right? Well, here they are. So you already have your skin set up for them. So like this guy here. So frogs then would be there. 6, and it's the first one. So that would be the 6th one. And my skin index will be 1. My portrait here is under resources. Let's use this second one here. Where'd it go? There's my portrait there. Oh wait, I think you actually have a portrait for this frog here, this one. Yeah, it's that. We'll say that the blue frog would be what? Online applications. Last one I made was to fill in your wishes if you want to be buried or burned after your death in those wishes. Not the happiest applications, but someone has to do it. What are you programming in to get that done? Are you using like Drupal or a CMS or WordPress? Or are you using like ASP.NET? What are you using for your web apps, if I can ask? This thing here needs to be called a frog rare. Our placement is going to be random. We'll say that it has to be 3 away from anything. Its moving object type is an enemy. It has a move speed. The move frequency relative to the player is 2. It's going to move 3 squares on a move. It doesn't skip any, and my number of moves per turn is 1. And my damage points will be 10. And you have an enemy type here. Now, what you forgot to do was in your world objects enemies, you need to bring in frog rare. So this is a moving object. your grid object is this frog. Your grid objects would be your database here. Hold on. Which means you need to make a new database assets here called enemies. It'll be a moving object of type enemies. And you can bring in a frog rare. Because now this world object of enemy will pass in your enemies here. I guess you'll call this a frogs. And then here you need to say that it's going to be in your interior, and your world minimum will be 0 and your world maximum will be 1. Now we can try it again. It's called Mendix. I think it's works underneath with Bootstrap and Java mostly. Okay. I haven't heard of it myself. Here it says that it couldn't find the database assets where it's of type enemies. Moment. If I look at my global manager, if I look at mine here that says, oh, it's called world objects. Let's try it again. Hey, Draughton, thank you for that subscription there, for that with Twitch Prime. Very much appreciate that. I think you're the third one that I've gotten. I don't know if this works or not. We could give it a try. I guess it doesn't work there. I have to do it on the Twitch one. But, yeah, thank you very much, man. If you have any questions, make sure you put them into the channel. We've got a really active and supportive community. Appreciate you being a part of it. Thanks, man. Let me see. I could try to get that thing here. Hold on. And I need to update my icons because I only just got this first one approved. There you go. And I'll make sure that we get that up there for the regular subscription. Sorry about that. That's not at the moment. Thank you very much for that. Appreciate it. So here, when you were checking your grid object type for make world object here, it said that your grid object was, I want to check this again. So now when I look here, my world object is a couch. It doesn't have a game object on it. So that one's going to work. This one's going to work. And now here's the next one. This one should be a world object is null. Interesting. So this is returning null here. Let's try it again. Coding game has puzzles you can do. Always interested to see how you would complete them in C#. I'm starting to learn C#, so it's nice to see you program and learn some. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. If you haven't joined the Discord, it's a great resource for developers of all skill levels. We use it pretty regularly. Here, let me pass this off. There's like 230 developers in there, which is a great place. So let me pass that along. Thank you again. 1, 2. Okay, here we go. Database enemy. We want to get a type called enemy type. We get our sub assets. We have 4. I have enemy world object. So for each one of these, we want the fourth one. 2, 3. This one is an item. This one is an item. I guess we don't care about all of them. Oh, crap. Try it again. I hit the wrong button again. I mean F9, not F5. You mentioned the Discord when I was in mobile. Good timing. Also, here's another one. So let's add a break there. That's items, blocking, hey, enemies. So for each one of my sub assets in here, this is called a rare. Is a frog rare a type of base enemy? It says it's not. So if you look at the frog again, it says that it's derived from base enemy. So if this asset as base enemy does not equal to null, and hey, Zach S, thank you for that subscription on YouTube. Appreciate that, buddy. If you have any questions, make sure you put them into the channel here as well. It's a great resource. Let me give this another whirl. All right, here we go. Here's our sub assets. There, now it worked. And now our world object shouldn't be null. It's going to create my enemy. And, okay, so we created a player, another player here, which works for me. And it knows that it's a world object because I can't step on it, which is nice. But it's bringing this in as a so you're never starting the skin sprite hot swap or something like that. Just a moment. Frog.portrait. So back on base map. I mean, that should be fine, right? So if you look at frog, you should have something on base enemy here, and then on base NPC when you're creating a base moving object where it should automatically be animator here. Where are you setting your late update? One of these you have this for your late update on your, let me see. So if we looked at solution, we're going to go the other direction. We're going to look for our sprite swap. It says I have no references, so I'm not using this yet. Oh, image swap late update. But you are using this one. So that means that you need to, on your home, look at your main player, your prefab for player. But if you looked at frog again, your portrait should be fine. Interesting. Because you have an animator which is running on this one, right? Just a moment here. Character selection. Because this one should have your pulsing script on it. It doesn't have an animator yet. Your player prefab has an animator but doesn't have a sprite swap on it. So let's copy this guy here, and we're going to say that this is a base enemy prefab. And let me add a sprite onto this guy called that frog. So that was called an enemies. Okay. And now let me move that to, oops. I guess we want to bring in a sprite swap late update in here. And we can change this animator to be a, I guess we can leave it the same. Because I kind of want to say that you should have like a, let me look at your player animator controller real quick. All it has is the idle and the walk blend, so that should be fine. So let me override this. We'll make a new folder here called enemies, and we'll make a new animation in here called a new animator controller override. We'll call this my enemy OAC. And on this, we want to copy these. And we'll move these in here. And I'll adjust my override controller here to be down 1, down idle, left, left idle, right, right idle, up, up idle. So now if you looked here at my, let's add this to my sprite here. There he is. It was this one right here. Okay. So now I want to look at my animations. And the first one is called down idle. Okay, this one's wrong. For down idle, for this frog, it's going to be, let's lock this for now. And let's drop this down to like 6 or something. Now, to me, it looks like that anchor is off. So if I was to look at my sprite animator, can I change this for everybody at one time? I don't think so. Interesting. It's like you really want to recut these, but you don't want to screw it up if you do. Let's just see. I really just don't want to have to set all of them at one time. But it looks like I'm going to have to. Maybe. Let me see. Maybe there's a trick here. Unity change pivot of multiple sprites. Okay, what it says to do is close the sprite editor. Then in your project view, select all your sprites. I do not see what it's talking about there. I guess that'll work. I moved everybody to the bottom, so now here I could just adjust these ones. Oh, same thing down here. Because it's important that I don't mess up the naming convention since I'm hot swapping these sprites. So now we can apply all that. And so now if I replay it, now he actually looks like he's where he needs to be. And my down should be 1, 2, 3, and then one more. And that was at 6. Okay. My left is here. At 6. And my left again here is, I got you. And that'll be a 6. We need to do that for up. Or I guess right would be next. There's right. And then over here, we need to do right again. Go away. We can get low, 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 low. We can get low. Okay, that looks good. And then we can finally do up. 1, 2, 3. Beauty is we really only need to do this one time, and then the rest we can hot swap. And now it needs to be 6. And then also our up here needs to be at 6. Okay. And so now if I was to look at the global manager here, game manager, pool manager, you should have one here for a moving object called a player prefab. All right. That means that this doesn't really exist here, but your enemy should have an animator controller on it. Just a moment. Moment. That's a scriptable object here called a enemy here. Interesting. So you're pretty much saying that you don't care. Now, you should swap that. I guess you don't need to. So that means that when you're creating this, here, you're going to just a moment. All right, I'm back. So what it was that on a base moving object, you should have a reference to your, right here, you're getting your animator, you're setting your state, and here you need to also get a reference to your, we can put this right here, protected sprite swap late update. Which means that down here we can do a sprite swap late update equals get component. I guess it would be called the game object dot get component of my sprite swap late update. And now that should be a set sprites, and this one's going to be equal to your skin that you've chosen dot sprites or something like that. Skin sprites dot select s where my s dot sprites dot to array, and then the next one was the is frozen is false, and then the sprite swap late update string type. All right, let me go take a look at what this is all about. We can get rid of this one. So if my sprites do not equal to null, then what we want to do is we're just going to do this. You want to get the array of your prefab sprites here. Hold on. I'm going to use this as a guide over here. So this thing should have on this a public skin sprites called my skin sprites, and then a public skin sprites called my prefab sprites. Moment. So just this. We need to make sure that this is using Unity random. And now you're getting your array from your prefab to your and you want to return the sprite here where your sprite name is the same, something like that. Like that, something like that. And then here you can do your sprite renderer dot sprite is equal to your sprites, like that. And now you're using your prefab sprites here. Okay, so now let me look at the correction. It says that this can't convert sprite to sprites. Hold on. So here, you want to set your skin sprites equal to your... Oh, of the index of your sprite index. Or is it called like a skin index or something? Like that. Let's try that. Let's see, Daratho says, can't you use list sprites instead of sprite array? Is there a performance hit between array and a list? So a list, by nature, it's, okay, so at the most basic level, you have something called an IEnumerable, okay? And that is an interface that doesn't allow you to add, it doesn't allow you to count, but you can iterate through things. That's very lightweight on your system, though, to work with that. Now, if you need to get add elements, remove elements, or count, then you have something called an iCollection, which derives from IEnumerable. And then if you need even beyond that, something that will give you the array index as well as sorting functions, that's where list comes in. So list is much more performance heavy than array, but it's in modern computing, just be smart about it, you know, because things are pretty quick these days. This is a little upset at me right here, and that should solve it. So let's jump back into here, and if I look at my prefab now for my game, under my pool manager, here's your prefab for player. Which means that here, interesting. You really are going to need to make sure that you put that animation controller on there as well. So this is going to be a sprite swipe late update on this. And your prefab sprites are it's that character that looks, that main character that you're always using. So that's under player characters called heal. If you were to run this real quick, what's the name of that first character? So he's a speed guy, Malcolm. There he is. Okay. And his skin sprites are 10, which means that just a moment here, it's the prefab. This one, character 10. So now if you're back at home and you were to delete this for a moment, and let's just see what happens here. I want to save this. So it didn't like what? Setting my sprites here to I bet you this said that it's null because the player moment. Yeah, this is a scriptable object. So that means that this is a get component in children. Let's try it again. Oh no, it's a game dev stream now, says Maggie's. Welcome, how are you doing? All right, so it looks like we got our 3 characters, although it's not bringing in my player correctly. Let's try it without that. Hey there, Ritasi. How are you doing, Rom? I'm doing great. How are you doing today? Oh, there we go. Looks like my character is now a frog for some reason, but that's okay. Well, it's running with the animator's OAC on it, so if I looked at player again here... Oh, that's why. So let's add this back to a player here, and then change this back to my character. No, 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 no. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. There it is. Okay. Let's try it again. Well, it's creating it, but it still never swapped the sprites out, did it? Moment. Now, I bet this is going to error because it's not using the right substring for that late update. Actually, that worked. Because these ones aren't moving. Except for that I'm on the same... Oh, no, I'm not. I just have the alignment a little bit off for these dudes, right? Because this is 2.4 and my player's at 2.5. So this one probably just needs to be dropped by, what, 1 whole unit. I wonder then if you look at your resources under your tile sets for, oh, sorry, skins for your characters here, character 1. Dun, 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 dun. Your pivot is at the center, so if you were to open your sprite editor, and let's go ahead and we're going to be smart. Let's do safe, and I want to change my pivot to the bottom. Still off a little, but my player... But the... It seems like 0 would just be fine for these. But you can see that that's great. So if I changed, what was this all about? Oh, this, okay. On my enemy base NPC, here you can have a public called a runtime animator controller. So then down here, when you're doing this, and you're getting a reference here to your animator, it's going to be animator.runtime animator controller equals runtime animator controller. All right. Which means if I look at my prefabs now, or I'm sorry, these scriptable objects for frog rare, you should have this one, which you can say is your enemy's OAC, and then you should have your player heal, which should have one called player. Going great. Some time off for Christmas. Feels good. Wanted to start a C# project, but I'm all out of ideas now. All right, so why didn't that like me? Because it changed. You assigned a sprite to it. So that was in your base map. There we go. Right now it says that my sprite doesn't have one, and my blocking objects, oh, they don't even have one, but my moving object has not one. So it's not setting that correctly. Because in your base moving object, now you forgot to animator equals base moving object dot animator. And there we go. Now we are late hot swapping these. Now, what is wrong? I don't care about this. So it's not quite doing it, but it's very close now. It's at least running the correct animator. So we'll put the skin on in just a minute. And everybody starts at different times. All right. I got to take a break. When we get back, we're going to get the other sprites in here, and we'll get those swapping with the late update. So if you have any questions, make sure you put them into the channel. Also, all these videos are up at youtube.pixelhorrorstudios.com, and I will put a link and see you in just, I don't know, we'll say 14 minutes. I'll put it up on the clock. See you guys in just a little bit.